Hey, everybody. My name is Andrew Copeland, and I'm excited to be here with you today. Today, we're going to dive into to-go beer and flight trends. I'm going to pull up my presentation in 1 sec, then we're going to dive deep into a lot of data. We're going to give everybody a moment to start joining. So if you could just drop in the comments where you're listening from, what part of the world you're in, what brewery you're with. We're going to begin this in just 1 second. So, once again, everybody, I appreciate you being here. We're going to get this going in just 1 second. So, grab a beer, grab a cup of water, and we're going to get this party started in just 1 second. Let's do it. So once again, my name's Andrew and I run Secret Hopper. Through Secret Hopper, we help breweries create more memorable and profitable taproom experiences based on data-driven insights. Today, I'm excited to talk about two of my favorite strategies to not only deepen loyalty with your guests, but to also increase profits. We're going to talk about the value of offering flights and to-go beer. Flights. You probably have a love-hate relationship with them, right? Am I wrong? Raise your hand if you love flights. Your favorite thing to pour on a busy Saturday? Doubtful. A strong way to build a connection with the guest and discover what's right for them? Absolutely. We will explore flight data from 2018 to 2022, excluding the year 2020. We're going to dive into a data set of 8,216 unique taproom visits. Each visit represents an average of 1.9 guests. It includes tip and tax. In each of these visits, we look at the question, did the staff suggest starting with a flight, and analyze its financial and experiential impact? In 2018, staff suggested flights on 36% of visits. In 2022, this action only occurred 25% of the time, only 1 out of 4 visits in 2022. From Brewers Association US craft brewery count data, the number of breweries in the United States has increased by 25% over this period. The sheer growth in the number of tap rooms increases awareness of craft beer. And one theory is that staff are encouraging less flights because they believe their guests are more familiar with brewery offerings. However, greater familiarity doesn't mean there isn't still value for both the guest and brewery to continue encouraging flights. Despite a trend in staff less frequently encouraging flights, there is financial data to support they should be. In 2018, when staff suggested starting with a flight, guests spent 22% more than guests who were not encouraged to begin with a flight. That's 48 versus 39.82. In 2020, when staff suggested starting with a flight, guests spent 27% more than guests who were not encouraged to begin with a flight. That's 61.70 versus 48.42 for everyone who likes the numbers. Which number would you rather see rung in? The higher, right? The sheer increase in spend from 2018-2019 numbers to 21-22 numbers can be highly attributed to price increases across the board. However, this does not diminish the percent increase in spend from non-flight to flight visits. Now, onto the benefit for your staff. For the staff encouraging a flight, will they see higher tips? Yes. In 2018, these staff members received tips on average 7% higher. This has since lowered in 2022 to a percent increase of 3% in situations when flight are suggested versus not encouraged. Higher tips are a benefit of greater engagement. You know what's a benefit of higher tabs? Higher tips and greater engagement? Better retention. Better paid employees are happier employees and stick around longer. The argument can also be made that if a guest is assisted in finding the right beer for them, they'll spend more money. And the data also backs this. Additionally, not only will the guest spend more money in your tap room when encouraged to begin with the flight, but they're also more likely to purchase beer to go. We'll dive much deeper into go beer shortly, but I'd like to talk briefly about the correlation that we do see. To further emphasize the financial impact, let's look at 21 and 22 together. When staff doesn't suggest a flight and the guest doesn't purchase to go, the guest only spends an average of $47.13. Guests who are suggested a flight are 40% more likely to purchase to go beer. Tab size differs from $66.30 when a guest is suggested a flight in orders to go versus 47.13 when they are not suggested a flight and do not purchase to go. Tabs, 41% higher. Diving deeper into the correlation between flights and to-go sales, we look at how often those who are suggesting flights are also encouraging to-go beer. 34% of visits where staff encourage flights also see staff suggest to-go beer. So let's say that again. 34% of visits where staff encourage flights also see staff suggest to go. Staff are 109% more likely to encourage to go if they've already suggested a flight. This makes sense, right? These are both habits of staff engaging at a higher level. Thus, a staff member who is demonstrating behaviors designed to deepen relationships will be more likely to stack these actions. This one blows my mind every time. Guests are a ridiculous 457% more likely to purchase to-go beer when staff suggests a flight and to-go beer versus when neither action takes place. And the increase in tab size, 44%. To reiterate, going from a visit not encouraging flights and to-go beer to a visit encouraging both, the likelihood of the guest purchasing to-go beer increases 457%. Can I get you started with a flight? Would you like to take some home? Fun fact, in these flight plus encourage to go plus purchase to go situations, the guest tips 8% higher. Engagement goes a long way. Staff are encouraging flights 30% less in 2022 than 2018. Yet guests are spending 27% more when staff suggest a flight. And to clarify, our study is looking at the action of staff asking a question versus the guest making the purchase. Simply asking this question and others are attributes of staff that engage at a high level. Because of this perceived level of higher engagement, which is a result of a checklist of little behaviors like suggesting flights, offering a recommendation, introducing yourself, suggesting beer to go, the guest will spend more. So am I suggesting that guests always be encouraged to start with the flight? No, but it may be a good place to start. I'm stressing the importance of building relationships and using context clues. Here's a quick list of when to consider offering a flight. You don't recognize the guest. Hey, first time visiting. The guest hasn't been here before. Suggest that flight. The guest appears confused about the ordering experience. The guest appears unsure of what they want. The guest has questions about the menu. Hey, maybe a flight's a great opportunity to try multiple options. Your tap room has a large selection. Your tap room has a rotating menu. Don't like selling flights? Consider half pours. We're not going to even discuss tasters in this one, but there are plenty of opportunities, as you can see here, of when you can consider suggesting a flight. And no guest will ever, ever, ever leave your tap room upset that you didn't encourage a flight or to go beer. They're not going to ever get upset that you asked that question. A flight is the action of encouraging a guest to explore your menu and find what's right for them. From the new beer drinker to the beer nerd, we're all in search of the right pint. A flight is a valuable tool to learn what your guests enjoy on the quest to make them your next best regular. Not sold on flights yet? Comparing flight versus no flight visits from 21 and 22, we get really granular and look strictly at those visits that the guest perceived as high engagement. The guest receiving high engagement and not suggested to begin with the flight, average tab, 49.76. The guest receiving high engagement and suggested to begin with the flight, an average tab of $60.41, over $10 higher. A flight is an opportunity for you to share more about your brewery and deepen your connection with the guest. Katie Creech at the Glass Beer Jug Lab in Durham, North Carolina, taught me one of my favorite new quotes to ask a guest. What are you in the mood for? What are you in the mood for? A flight may be the answer. So now let's talk about to-go beer. Since we first launched Secret Hopper, this topic has been near and dear to my heart, but also a source of an easy win to make more profits in your tap room. It has also been 5 years since we first analyzed data on the impact of encouraging beer to go in tap rooms. In 2018, we discovered that taproom staff were encouraging beer to go on 19% of visits, 1 out of 5 times. When they did not suggest it, the customer only made a to-go purchase on their own 9% of the time, 1 out of 10 visits. However, when staff did suggest it, the guests made the additional purchase 49% of the time. A guest was also an astonishing 408% more likely to purchase to go when asked versus visits when they were not asked. So, here in 2023, what progress have we made with to go beer? We're going to look at the question: did the staff suggest taking beer to go, and analyze its financial and experiential impact? So, let's dive in. The results in 2019 paralleled the initial 2018 data. We saw a minor uptick, 0.7%, in staff encouraging beer to go. There were no noticeable changes. Visits, including staff suggesting to go beer, proved to be much more profitable for breweries. 2021 saw staff 10% more likely to encourage beer to go than 2019. I believe the pandemic did help with training staff to encourage more beer to go and understanding the positive impact it can have on the bottom line. Additionally, visits including to-go beer see the guests tip higher than on visits not encouraging to-go beer. I believe this is the case because the action of encouraging to-go beer, much like a flight, is the behavior of a staff member who is already engaging at a high level. Thus, this behavior is one of many they're exhibiting that helps create not only more memorable guest experiences, but also more profitable for you in the tap room. Over 2018 and 2019, when staff encouraged beer to go, we saw the overall spend increase by 27.1% and 27.6% respectively, compared to visits when it was not suggested. Like the prior slide where I believe staff were doing a better job of encouraging beer to go in 2021 as carried over from pandemic times, I believe guests were still being a little more infrequent with their brewery visits and a little more intentional where they were spending their dollars. Thus, more likely to think of the brewery as a one-stop beer shop and perhaps foregoing a few stops at future retail establishments and making the purchase in the tap room, which results in a 36.4% total spend percent increase when staff encouraged to go beer. Another interesting takeaway is the total guest spend in general from 2019 to 2021. In 2019, the average tab when a guest wasn't asked to purchase to go and didn't make the purchase was $40.40. Under the same not asked, didn't purchase criteria, the average guest spent $48.46 in 2021, a 20% increase. In 2019, when staff suggested to go beer and the guest made the purchase, their average spend was $51.61. In 2021, this number was $66.08, a 28% increase, and 63.4% higher than 2019 visits when the guest wasn't asked, didn't purchase. Guests in 2021 were a mind-blowing 486% more likely to purchase beer to go when asked. Pandemic holdover? Maybe. But as shown, staff did the best at encouraging to-go beer in 2021. And in turn, guests were more likely to make the added purchase and ultimately spend more. In 2022, taproom staff were 17% less likely to encourage beer to go than 2021. However, like 2021, guests were a whopping 473% more likely to purchase to go when asked. Are you catching on? Ask the questions. The average spend of a guest purchasing to go did decrease in 2022 versus the year prior, 59.20 versus 66.08. While we don't have data on it, perhaps in 2021, brewery goers are visiting less breweries and thus spending more on each taproom occasion. As their visit frequency increases, the average spend may slightly diminish. The benefit isn't just to your bottom line. As we talked about with flights, your taproom staff crave higher tips, and 2022 included the highest tip percentage we've seen on visits, including staff asking and guests purchasing to-go beer. The average guest who was asked and made the purchase tipped 27.4%. As mentioned, staff that engage at a high level are going to see higher tips. Over 21 and 2022, low engagement visits saw an average tip of 23.5%. High engagement visits hit the 27.1 mark. Notice that visits when the guest is asked and purchased to go beer exceed even the average tip for high engagement visits. That is 27.4% when it's high engagement plus to go beer versus just 27.1% when it is an average of high engagement. It's a difference, everybody. Focusing on the engagement component, low engagement visits only include staff encouraging to go beer 3.6 at a time. 3.6 at a time. Not even 4 times out of 100 visits versus the high engagement staff member suggesting to go beer 31.3% of the time. While I do like the 31% number much more, there is still work to be done. That's approximately 31 visits out of 100 staff are encouraging to go beer. I would love to see those numbers increase. Like the flight question, you're not going to upset someone by encouraging them to take something home. Unfortunately, we can't count on guests to suddenly change their purchasing habits when not asked to purchase to go. Across all of these years, guests were within zero point 0.8 percentage points with regards to their likelihood to make the purchase on their own when not encouraged by staff. What can you do? Train your staff to master the habit of encouraging beer to go. Here's a quick list of authentic ways to encourage beer to go. To a first time guest, did you know we also offer beer that you can take home? So often we take for granted that everybody knows how a brewery works, but there are still people coming into a brewery for the first time, and you might blow their mind by letting them know they can actually take some home and the beer is made behind that wall, or they can see even the tanks. To a regular, did you know we have your favorite beer in cans? The reminder doesn't hurt, even to your most loyal customers. To anyone, this is one of my favorites. It looks like you really enjoyed that. Fill in the blank. Would you like to take some home? If I really enjoyed that beer, I can be very easily convinced to take some home. Now let's look at some strategies to motivate your team to encourage beer to go. So a little story I want to tell with this one. I held a couple trainings with breweries in my area and outside the state of Virginia, and often I'll ask the question, what's going to motivate you to sell more to go beer on a Saturday afternoon? Crowlers, growlers, cans, you name it. What's going to get your team excited to ask the question to the guest? And often the answer is going to be, I want a bonus. I want a gift card to a local restaurant, maybe some low fills that the brewery has on hand. But at the end of the day, what we see as the most common thing that your team wants, and this is one that's kind of funny, we did one at a brewery here in Virginia, and all they wanted to sell more to go beer on a Saturday afternoon. The consensus was a $20 Chick-fil-A gift card, a fancy chicken sandwich. That was all it was going to take to motivate all team members to work towards the goal of selling more beer to go. So the ways I like you to motivate your team, these are strategies that work. They're ones I recommend you constantly do. Rewards. Offer a prize for those who sell the most or hit sales targets. This could be anything from that spicy chicken sandwich or that gift card to, maybe a gift card to another local restaurant. It could be a trophy. It could be something physical that you offer to the person who hits that goal. Also, recognition. Publicly recognize top performers. This could be at a meeting or it could even happen in an employee newsletter where you shout out so and so for doing a fantastic job. People like to be recognized for a job well done. Opportunity. Provide those who achieve to go beer goals with access to industry certifications, conference registrations, or company growth. It's really important to know why people are working in your tap room. So I encourage you to ask those questions to better understand their expectations of them working at your brewery. So how you can best exceed them, how you can make their experience for you as memorable as you want the guest experiences to be in your tap room. Now, here's one that I didn't always have on the list of ways to motivate staff. It's individual goals based on progress. What I mean by this is don't just reward your rock stars. Provide individual team members with unique goals and rewards based on improvement. For example, Jamar may consistently be the top to go salesperson at your tap room. However, they may show no month over month gains. Katie, however, may show a 25% increase in to-go sales from month to month. Make sure you're rewarding those who are showing personal gains. The moral of the story, there is still room to improve. Taproom staff should find authentic ways to encourage to-go beer. No guest, once again, is ever going to get upset by the question. Worst case, they say no. You've got about a 50-50 chance they're going to say yes. Now, I want to look at data from 21 and 22 once again and just focus on engagement. We're going to look at the correlation between the level of engagement and the amount spent. Guests spend 30% more when they experience a high level of engagement in your tap room. Things like suggesting flights, encouraging to-go beer, they're habits that a highly engaged staff member is going to demonstrate, and they're going to see higher tabs, they're going to see higher tips, you're going to see more repeat customers, going to make your life easier, they're going to stick around longer just by building relationships. So, your immediate action items for today. I want you to encourage your staff to help guests find the right beverage. Do it through flights. I guarantee you, no one's going to get upset, but have them suggest offering flights to your guests and see where it goes. Track the data, track the average spend, see what you see with regard to increases in total spend. Also, encourage beer to go. It's an easy one. At the end of a visit, Andrew, would you like to take some of that lager home? We've got it in a 6 pack. I'm going to say yes 50% of the time, probably a little bit more. And your guest will too. At the end of the day, it's all about building relationships. Engage, engage, engage. Find ways to connect with everyone who enters your tap room. But also create a plan to continually motivate your staff. And don't just reward the rock stars. Ask your team what's going to motivate them. And each month, find those metrics to monitor and reward your team for hitting their both team and individual goals. And lastly, share the data with your team. Let them know the progress you're making together. Find the metrics that you like to look at. One of my favorite personal metrics is tip percentage. For example, if I'm consistently getting an average tip of 17%, but Carrie is getting on, let's say, 27%, he's doing something that's engaging at a higher level, that's getting those guests coming in to tip him at a higher level. See what Cabot's Carrie is doing with the person who has it higher tip percentage because it's demonstrating higher engagement. But pick other metrics too. Look at how often someone's encouraging to go. Look at average tab size. Look at whatever your POS can offer and use those metrics and share them with your team to motivate them to be the best brand advocates they can be. Now, at this point in time, I would love to open up the floor to any questions. At Secret Hopper, we love engaging. We love talking taproom. If you have any data sets you'd like us to dive into in the future, we'd love to do them. It's been fascinating to dive into these flight and taproom trends over the years. I really do want to see improvements as you conquer the mile around your brewery and grow your reach. It's important to get more people aware of your brewery and get more beer in their fridges. So I appreciate all of you. If you ever want to get Secret Hop to see how your staff is doing with encouraging flights and beer to go, you can go to secrethopper.com. We're always open for a conversation. I appreciate everybody. And once again, this has been fascinating to share this data set. We'll see you soon. Cheers.